In this lecture, we'll look at creating custom calculations. Specifically, we'll take a look at the following: creating and editing calculated fields, common functions which might be useful in creating calculated fields, as well as table calculations. Often we'll want to create custom calculations if you want to dig deeper and answer questions which the current set of data fields can't answer. For example, if we have a cost field and a sales field but no profit, then we could create a new field, new profit field, by taking away cost from the sales. Tableau provides us with a powerful interface to create custom calculations, and if you got a bit of background in programming, then you should be right at home. And if you don't panic. You'll still be able to put together some straightforward calculations in no time. It's a fairly user-friendly interface. So let's have a go at creating a calculated field. This workbook example is showing us the total value of sales across states. What we want to do with this workbook is create a calculated field to determine which states are profitable and, more importantly, which states aren't. So there are a number of ways you can go about creating a calculated field. You can right-click in a list of dimensions or measures and go to create calculated field, or from the top menu, clicking on analysis and going to create calculated field. Either way, you'll be getting same menu option or same window, and in here we can specify all the details about a calculated field. So firstly, we'll give it a name. We'll call it profitable flag. You can really reference fields from all of your sources within the formula. The second one is list of parameters. For our example, we won't use a parameter, but you can if you want to. And the third one is a list of functions. Now, Tableau provides a large list of functions which are categorized by type of function. So you can, if you're looking for a string function, you can go to string functions or date and so forth. Tableau has logically categorized them, which will make finding the right one just a little bit easier. Now, if you're unsure of the purpose of a particular function, you can simply click on it and help text will appear on the right. Okay, so let's make our own little calculated field, and we'll type in the following formula. Okay, so what this formula does, it checks that the sum of the profit field, which is available in a list of fields, if the sum of profit is greater than 0, then the flag is set to yes, otherwise it's no. So it's a fairly simple if-then-else statement. What this also shows is that our calculated fields don't always have to be returning numbers. It could be strings or booleans and even other data types like dates. So now notice that the new field appears in the data window. The equal sign signifies that it is a calculated field. The ABC icon tells us that the field itself is a string. So in our case, it will always be either yes or no. So using a calculated field is no different than using any other fields. So all we got to do is drag it onto columns or rows or one of the marks. So if we wanted to show the states that are profitable and states that are not, we just simply drop it onto the color, and we can see that blue represents not profitable and yes represents profitable states. Now we can actually go back to our calculated field and edit, which we can go back in and we can actually play around with the formula if we needed to. There's really quite a lot of functions to cover. So we've actually provided a slide pack with this lecture of some of the most commonly used functions within Tableau. But obviously, depending on your requirements, you might end up using all of those or none of those. But it might be a useful reference for you to have. So another useful feature of Tableau is table calculations. Table calculations, as the name suggests, allow you to apply special functions to table data. So the nice thing about table calculations is that these calculations are applied very quickly in Tableau, and they do not require a database lookup. So effectively, table calculations work on the data that's already within your workbook. So an example of table calculation would be something like running totals within your table. So let's have a table calculations in practice. So I have a second sheet called total sales by category, which simply shows me the value of sales by product category and product subcategory. It's a fairly straightforward table, nothing too fancy. So for any value that's in the table, we can actually define a table calculation. So in this case, sum of sales, we could create a table calculation, and there's two ways of doing it. You can use one of the predefined ones, like that comes under quick table calculations, or you can go and create a bit more sophisticated one. For now, let's just use a quick table calculation and have a look at ranking. So what this does, it actually ranks for each row, ranks it out of the overall table from 1 to whatever the number of records is. So it ranks all the records according to the value of the sales. So we can see office machines ranked as number 1. What it's done, it's actually taken the field sum of sales and converted it to a table calculation. You can see that by the little sigma symbol. Now if we wanted to see sales next to it, we can double click the sales again and they will appear as a separate column. So now we can see that number 1 ranking is $1.2 million for office machines within technology. Now there's a couple other things you can do with table calculations. One of the things we can do is specify the scope that the table calculation is applicable to. So at the moment, the ranking will be done across all of the table, but we can actually specify that to be done by specific pane. Now pane is actually corresponds to a group in this case. So you can see that ranking from 1 to 4 only applies within furniture group, and then from 1 to 9 within the office supplies, and again 1 to 4 for technology. So if we click on that, maybe we can sort it by that, and now we can see total value of sales ranked within a particular category. If you click on the context menu for the field that's been calculated, you can actually go to Edit Table Calculation, where you can specify more details. So similar to what we've seen before, we can actually change the type, change the scope, and we can do a couple other things as well. But in addition to that, you can actually click on Customize and see what the formula is that Tableau is applying for the table calculation field. Now, obviously in here you can create your own formulas, and they can be quite sophisticated, so it's good to have that flexibility.